Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, Part 4. April 29th, 1992. Dear friend, I wish I could report that it's getting better, but unfortunately, it isn't. It's hard, too, because we've started school again, and I can't go to the places where I used to go, and it can't be like it was. And I wasn't ready to say goodbye just yet. To tell you the truth, I've just been avoiding everything. I walk around the school hallways and look at the people. I look at the teachers and wonder why they're here, if they like their jobs, or us. And I wonder how smart they were when they were 15. Not in a mean way, in a curious way. It's like looking at the students and wondering who's had their heart broken that day, and how they're able to cope with having 3 quizzes and a book report on top of that. Or wondering who did the heartbreaking, and wondering why. Especially since I know that if they went to another school, the person who had their heart broken would have had their heart broken by somebody else. So why does it have to be so personal? And if I went to another school, I'd never have known Sam or Patrick or Mary Elizabeth or anyone except my family. I can tell you one thing that happened. I was in the shopping mall because that's where I go lately. For the last couple of weeks, I've been going there every day, trying to figure out why people go there. It's kind of a personal project. There was this one little boy. He might have been 4 years old, I'm not sure. He was crying really hard, and then he kept screaming for his mom. He must have been lost. Then I saw this older kid who was maybe 17, and I think he went to a different school because I'd never seen him before. Anyway, this older kid, who was really tough looking with a leather jacket and long hair and everything, went up to the little boy and asked him what his name was. And the boy answered and stopped crying. Then the older kid walked away with the little boy. A minute later, I heard the intercom say to the mom that her boy was at the information desk. So I went to the information desk to see what would happen. I guess the mom had been searching for her little boy for a long time because she came running up to the information desk, and when she saw the little boy, she started crying. She held him tightly and told him to never run off again. Then she thanked the older kid who had helped, and all the older kid said was, "Next time, just watch him a little fucking better." Then he walked away. The man with the mustache behind the information desk was speechless. So was the mom. The little boy just wiped his nose, looked up to his mom, and said, "French fries?" The mom looked down at the little boy and nodded, and they left. So I followed them. They went to the place where the food stands are, and they got French fries. The little boy was smiling and getting ketchup all over himself, and the mom kept wiping his face in between taking drags of her cigarette. I kept looking at the mom, trying to imagine what she must have looked like when she was young. If she was married, if her little boy was an accident or planned, and if that made a difference. I saw other people there, old men sitting alone, young girls with blue eyeshadow and awkward jaws, little kids who looked tired, fathers in nice coats who looked even more tired, kids working behind counters of food places who looked like they hadn't had the will to live for hours. The machines kept opening and closing, the people kept giving money and getting their change, and it all felt very unsettling to me. So I decided to find another place to go and figure out why people go there. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of places like that. I don't know how much longer I can keep going without a friend. I used to be able to do it very easily, but that was before I knew what having a friend was like. It's much easier not to know things sometimes, and to have French fries with your mom be enough. The only person I've really talked to in the last 2 weeks was Susan, the girl who used to go with Michael back in the middle school when she had braces. I saw her standing in the hall surrounded by a group of boys I didn't know. They were all laughing and making sex jokes, and Susan was doing her best to laugh along with them. When she saw me approaching the group, her face went ashen. It was almost like she didn't want to remember what she was like 12 months ago. And she certainly didn't want the boys to know that she knew me and used to be my friend. The whole group got quiet and stared at me, and I didn't even notice them. I just looked at Susan, and all I said was, "Do you ever miss him?" I didn't say it mean or accusingly. I just wanted to know if anybody else remembered Michael. To tell you the truth, I was stoned in a bad way, and I couldn't get the question out of my mind. Susan was at a loss. She didn't know what to do. These were the first words we had spoken since the end of last year. I guess it wasn't fair of me to ask her in a group like that, but I never see her by herself anymore, and I really just needed to know. At first, I thought her blank expression was the result of surprise, but after it didn't go away for a while, I knew that it wasn't. It suddenly dawned on me that if Michael were still around, Susan probably wouldn't be going out with him anymore. Not because she's a bad person or shallow or mean, but because things change, and friends leave, and life doesn't stop for anyone. I'm sorry I bothered you, Susan. I'm just having a tough time, that's all. Have a good one, I said, and I walked away. God, that kid is such a fucking freak, I heard one of the boys whisper when I was halfway down the hall. He said it more factual than mean, and Susan didn't correct him. I don't know if I would have corrected him myself these days. Love always, Charlie. May 2nd, 1992. Dear friend, I went to see Bob a few days ago to buy more pot. I should probably say that I keep forgetting Bob doesn't go to school with us, probably because he watches more television than anyone I know, and he's great with trivia. You should see him talk about Mary Tyler Moore. It's kind of spooky. Bob has this very specific way of living. He says he takes a shower every other day. He weighs his stash daily. He says when you're smoking a cigarette with someone and you have a lighter, you should light their cigarette first. But if you have matches, you should light your cigarette first. So you breathe in the harmful sulfur instead of them. He says it's the polite thing to do. He also says that it's bad luck to have 3 on a match. He heard this from an uncle who fought in Vietnam. Something about how 3 cigarettes was enough time for the enemy to know where you are. Bob says that when you're alone and you light a cigarette, and the cigarette is only halfway lit, that means someone is thinking about you. He also says that when you find a penny, it's only lucky if it's heads up. He says the best thing to do is find a lucky penny when you're with someone and give the other person the good luck. He believes in karma. He also loves to play cards. Bob goes part-time to the local community college. He wants to be a chef. He is an only child, and his parents are never home. He says it used to bother him a lot when he was younger, but not so much anymore. The thing about Bob is that when you first meet him, he's really interesting because he knows about cigarettes rules and pennies and Mary Tyler Moore. But after you've known him for a while, he starts to repeat these things. In the last few weeks, he hasn't said anything that I haven't heard from him before. That's what made it such a shock when he told me what happened. Basically, Brad's father caught Brad and Patrick together. I guess that Brad's father didn't know about his son because when he caught them, Brad's father started beating Brad. Not a slap kind of beating, a belt kind. a real kind. Patrick told Sam, who told Bob, that he had never seen anything like it. I guess it was that bad. He wanted to say, "Stop," and "You're killing him." He even wanted to hold Brad's father down, but he just froze. And Brad kept yelling, "Get out," to Patrick. And finally, Patrick just did. That was last week. And Brad still hasn't come to school. Everyone thinks he might have been sent to a military school or something. Nobody knows for sure about anything. Patrick tried calling once, but when Brad's father answered, he just hung up. Bob said Patrick was in bad shape. I can't tell you how sad I felt when he told me that, because I wanted to call Patrick and be his friend and help him, but I didn't know if I should call him because of what he said about waiting until things got clear. The thing was, I couldn't think of anything else. So on Friday, I went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I waited until the movie had already started before I went into the theater. I didn't want to ruin the show for anybody. I just wanted to see Patrick play Frankenfurter, just like he always does, because I knew that if I saw that, I knew he would be okay. Just like my sister getting mad at me for smoking cigarettes. I sat in the back row and looked on the stage. It was still a couple of scenes before Frankenfurter enters, and that's when I saw Sam playing Janet. And I missed her so much. And I was so sorry about how I messed everything up, especially when I saw Mary Elizabeth playing Magenta. It was all very hard to watch, but then Patrick finally came on as Frankenfurter, and he was great. He was actually better than ever in a lot of ways. It was just so nice to see all my friends. I left before the movie was over. I drove home listening to some of the songs we listened to those times when we were infinite, and I pretended they were in the car with me. I even talked out loud. I told Patrick how I thought he was great. I asked Sam about Craig. I told Mary Elizabeth that I was sorry and how much I really loved the E.E. Cummings book and wanted to ask her questions about it, but then I stopped because it started to make me too sad. I also thought that if anybody saw me talking out loud when I was alone in the car, their looks might convince me that something's wrong with me. The thing that's wrong might be even worse than I thought. When I got home, my sister was watching a movie with her new boyfriend. There isn't much to say other than his name is Eric, and he has short hair and is a junior. Eric had rented the movie. After I shook hands with him, I asked them about the movie because I didn't recognize it, except for the actor who used to be on a TV show, and I couldn't remember his name. My sister said, "It's stupid, you wouldn't like it." I said, "What's it about?" She said, "Come on, Charlie, it's almost over." I said, "Would it be okay if I watch the end?" She said, "You can watch it when we're done." I said, "Well, how about I watch the end with you, and then I can rewind it and watch up to the point I started watching with you." That's when she paused the movie. "Can't you take a hint?" "I suppose not." "We want to be alone, Charlie." "Oh, I'm sorry." To tell you the truth, I knew she wanted to be alone with Eric, but I really wanted to have some company. I knew it wasn't fair, though, to ruin her time because I miss everybody, so I just said goodnight and left. I went up to my room and started reading the new book Bill gave me. It's called The Stranger. Bill said that it's very easy to read, but very hard to read well. I have no idea what he means, but I like the book so far. Love always, Charlie. May 8th, 1992. Dear friend, It's strange how things can change back as suddenly as they changed originally. When one thing happens and suddenly things are back to normal. On Monday, Brad came to school. He looked very different. It wasn't that he was bruised or anything, his face actually looked fine. But before, Brad was always the guy who walked down the hallway with a bounce. I can't really describe it any other way. It's just that some people walk with their heads to the ground for some reason. They don't look like other people. They don't look other people in the eye. Brad was never like that. But now he is. Especially when it comes to Patrick. I saw them talking quiet in the hallway. I was too far away to hear what they said, but I could tell Brad was ignoring Patrick. And when Patrick started to get upset, Brad just closed his locker and walked away. It wasn't that strange because Brad and Patrick never talked in school since Brad wanted things to be a secret. The strange part was that Patrick would walk up to Brad in the first place. So I guess that they didn't meet on the golf courses anymore or talk on the phone even. Later that afternoon, I was having a cigarette outside by myself, and I saw Patrick alone, also having a cigarette. I wasn't close enough to really see him, but I didn't want to interfere with his personal time, so I didn't walk up to him. But Patrick was crying. He was crying pretty hard. After that, whenever I saw him around anywhere, he didn't look like he was even there. He looked like he was someplace else. And I think I knew that because that's how people used to say I was. Maybe they still do. I'm not sure. On Thursday, something really terrible happened. I was sitting alone in the cafeteria, eating Salisbury steak, when I saw Patrick walk up to Brad, who was sitting with his football buddies, and I saw Brad ignore him like he did at the locker. And I saw Patrick get really upset, but Brad still ignored him. Then I saw Patrick say something, and he looked pretty angry as he turned away. Brad sat still for a second, then he turned around, and then I heard it. It was just loud enough for a few tables to hear, the thing that Brad yelled at Patrick. Brad's football buddies started laughing. A few tables got quiet as Patrick turned around. He was mad as hell. I'm not kidding. He stormed up to Brad's table and said, "What did you call me?" God, he was mad. I'd never seen Patrick like that before. Brad sat quiet for a second, but his buddies kept egging him on, pushing his shoulders. Brad looked at Patrick and said, softer and meaner than last time, "I called you up." Brad's buddies started laughing even harder. That is, until Patrick threw the first punch. It's kind of eerie when a whole room gets quiet at once, and then the real noise starts. The fight was hard. A lot harder than the one I had with Sean last year. There was no clean punching or things you see in the movies. They just wrestled and hit, and whoever was the most aggressive or the most angry got in the most hits. In this case, it was pretty even until Brad's buddies got involved, and it became 5-on-1. That's when I got involved. I just couldn't watch them hurt Patrick, even if things weren't clear just yet. I think anyone who knew me might have been frightened or confused, except maybe my brother. He taught me what to do in these situations. I don't really want to go into detail, except to say that by the end of it, Brad and two of his buddies stopped fighting and just stared at me. His other two friends were lying on the ground. One was clutching the knee I bashed in with one of those metal cafeteria chairs. The other one was holding his face. I kind of swiped at his eyes, but not too bad. I didn't want to be too bad. I looked down at the ground, and I saw Patrick. His face was pretty messed up. and he was crying hard. I helped him to his feet, and then I looked at Brad. I don't think we'd ever really exchanged 2 words before, but I guess this was the time to start. All I said was, "If you ever do this again, I'll tell everyone, and if that doesn't work, I'll blind you." I pointed at his friend who was holding his face, and I knew Brad heard me and knew that I meant it. He didn't say anything back, though, because the security guards of our school came to bring all of us out of the cafeteria. They took us first to the nurse, and then to Mr. Small. Patrick started the fight, so he was suspended for a week. Brad's buddies got 3 days, each for ganging up on Patrick after they broke up the original fight. Brad wasn't suspended at all because it was self-defense. I didn't get suspended either because I was just helping to defend a friend when it was 5-on-1. Brad and I got a month's detention starting that day. In detention, Mr. Harris didn't set up any rules. He just let us read or do homework or talk. It really isn't much of a punishment unless you like the television programs right after school or are really concerned with your permanent record. I wonder if it's all a lie. A permanent record, I mean. On the first day of detention, Brad came to sit next to me. He looked very sad. I think it all kind of hit him after he stopped feeling numb from the fight. "Charlie?" "Yeah?" Thanks for stopping them." "You're welcome." And that was it. I haven't said anything to him since. And he didn't sit next to me today. At first, when he said it, I was kind of confused, but then I think I got it. Because I wouldn't want a bunch of my friends beating up Sam, even if I wasn't allowed to like her anymore. When I got out of detention that day, Sam was waiting for me. The minute I saw her, she smiled. I was numb. I just couldn't believe she was really there. Then I saw her turn and give Brad a real cold look. Brad said, "Tell him I'm sorry." Sam replied, "Tell him yourself." Brad looked away and walked to his car. Then Sam walked up to me and messed up my hair. "So I heard you're this ninja or something." I think I nodded. Sam drove me home in her pickup truck. On the way, she told me she was really angry at me for doing what I did to Mary Elizabeth. She told me that Mary Elizabeth is a really old friend of hers. She even reminded me that Mary Elizabeth was there for her when she went through that tough time she told me about when she gave me the typewriter. I don't really want to repeat what that was, so she said that when I kissed her instead of Mary Elizabeth, I really hurt their friendship for a while, because I guess Mary Elizabeth really liked me a lot. That made me feel sad because I didn't know that she liked me that much. I just thought she wanted to expose me to all those great things. That's when Sam said, "Charlie, you're so stupid sometimes. Do you know that?" Yeah, I really do know that. Honest. Then she said that Mary Elizabeth, and she had gotten over it. And she thanked me for taking Patrick's advice and staying away for as long as I did because it made things easier. So then I said, "So can we be friends now?" "Of course," was all she said. "And Patrick?" "And Patrick." "And everyone else?" "And everyone else." That's when I started crying, but Sam told me to shush. "You remember what I said to Brad?" "Yeah." You told him that he should tell Patrick that he was sorry himself. That goes for Mary Elizabeth, too. I tried, but she told me, I know you tried. I'm telling you to try again. Okay. Sam dropped me off. When she was too far away to see me, I started to cry again. Because she was my friend again. And that was enough for me. So I made myself promise to never mess up like I did before. And I'm never going to, I can tell you that. When I went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show tonight, it was very tense. Not because of Mary Elizabeth. That was actually okay. I said I was sorry, and then I asked her if there was anything she wanted to say to me. And like before, I asked a question and got a very long answer. When I was done listening, and I really did listen, I said I was sorry again. Then she thanked me for not trying to make what I did seem less by offering a lot of excuses. And things were back to normal, except we were just friends. To tell you the truth, I think the biggest reason for everything being okay is that Mary Elizabeth started dating one of Craig's friends. His name is Peter, and he's in college, which makes Mary Elizabeth happy. At the party at Craig's apartment, I overheard Mary Elizabeth say to Alice that she was much happier with Peter because he was opinionated. And they had debates. She said that I was really sweet and understanding, but our relationship was too one-sided. She was a person who was more open to discussion and didn't need someone's permission to talk. I wanted to laugh, or maybe get mad, or maybe shrug at how strange everyone was, especially me. But I was at a party with my friends, so it really didn't matter that much. I just drank because I figured it was about time to stop smoking so much pot. The thing that made the evening tense was Patrick officially quit doing Frankenfurter in the show. He said that he didn't want to do it anymore. Ever. So he sat and watched the show in the audience with me, and he said that things that were hard to listen to because Patrick usually isn't unhappy. You ever think, Charlie, that our group is the same as any other group, like the football team, and the only real difference between us is what we wear and why we wear it? Yeah. And there was this pause. Well, I think it's all bullshit. And he meant it. It was hard to see him mean it that much. Some guy that I didn't know from somewhere else did the part of Frankenfurter. He had been the second to Patrick for a long time, and now he got his chance. He was pretty good, too. Not as good as Patrick, but pretty good. Love always, Charlie. May 11th, 1992. Dear friend, I've been spending a lot of time with Patrick these days. I haven't really said much. I just kind of listen and nod because Patrick needs to talk. But it isn't like it was with Mary Elizabeth. It's different. It started out on the Saturday morning after the show. I was in my bed trying to figure out why sometimes you can wake up and go back to sleep and other times you can't. Then my mom knocked. Your friend Patrick's on the phone. So I got up and wiped away the sleep. Hello? Get dressed, I'm on my way. Click. That was it. I actually had a lot of work to do since it was getting closer to the end of the school year, but it sounded like we might be having some kind of adventure, so I got dressed anyways. Patrick pulled up about 10 minutes later. He was wearing the same clothes he wore the night before. He hadn't showered or anything. I don't even think he went to bed. He was just wide awake on coffee and cigarettes and Mini Thins, which are these small pills that you can buy at the Quick Marts or truck stops. They keep you awake. They're not illegal either, but they make you thirsty. So I climbed in Patrick's car, which was filled with cigarette smoke. He offered me one, but I said, not in front of my house. Your parents don't know you smoke? No, should they? I guess not. Then we started driving. Fast. At first, Patrick didn't say much. He just listened to the music on the tape player. After the second song started, I asked him if it was the mixtape I made him for Secret Santa Christmas. I've been listening to it all night. Patrick had this smile all over his face. It was a sick smile. Glazy and numb. He just turned up the volume and drove faster. I'll tell you something, Charlie. I feel good. You know what I mean? Really good. Like I'm free or something. Like I don't have to pretend anymore. I'm going away to college, right? It'll be different there. You know what I mean? Sure, I said. I've been thinking all night about what kind of posters I want to put up in my dorm room and if I'll have an exposed brick wall. I've always wanted an exposed brick wall so I can just paint it. Know what I mean? I just nodded this time because he didn't really wait for a sure. Things will be different there. They have to be. They will be. You really think so? Sure. Thanks, Charlie. That's kind of how it went all day. We went to see a movie, and we ate pizza, and every time Patrick started getting tired, we got coffee, and he ate another mini-thin or two. And when things started turning dusk outside, he showed me all the places where he and Brad would meet. He didn't say much about them. He just stared. We ended up at the golf course. We sat on the 18th green, which was pretty high on a hill, and we watched the sun disappear. By this point, Patrick had bought a bottle of red wine with his fake ID, and we passed it back and forth, just talking. Did you ever hear about Lily? He asked. Who? Lily Miller. I don't know what her real first name was, but they called her Lily. She was a senior when I was a sophomore. I don't think so. I thought your brother would have told you. It's a classic. Maybe. Okay, stop me if you've heard it. Okay? So Lily comes up here with this guy who was the lead in all the plays. Parker? Right, Parker. How do you know? My sister had a crush on him. Perfect. We were getting pretty drunk. So Parker and Lily come up here one night, and they are so in love. He even gave her his thespian pin or something. At this point, Patrick is spitting out wine between sentences. He's laughing so hard. They even had a song. Something like Broken Wings by that band, Mr. Mister. I don't even know, but I hope it was Broken Wings because it would make this story perfect. Keep going, I encouraged. Okay. He swallowed. So, they've been going out for a long time. And I think they've even had sex before. But this was going to be a special night. She packed a little picnic, and he bought a boombox to play Broken Wings. Patrick just couldn't get over that song. He laughed for 10 minutes. Okay. I'm sorry. So, they have this picnic with sandwiches and everything, and they start to make out. The stereo's playing, and they're just about to do it, when Parker realizes he forgot the condoms. They're both naked on this putting green, and they both want each other. There's no condom. So, what do you think happened? I don't know. They did it doggy style with one of the sandwich bags. No, was all I could really say. Yes, was Patrick's rebuttal. God, was my counter. Yes, was Patrick's conclusion. After we shook off the giggles and wasted most of the wine with spit takes, he turned to me. And you want to know what was the best part? What? She was the valedictorian, and everyone knew it when she went up there to give her speech. There's nothing like the deep breaths after laughing that hard. Nothing in the world like a sore stomach for the right reasons. It was that great. So Patrick and I shared all the stories we could think of. There was a kid named Barry who used to build kites in the art class. Then, after school, he would attach firecrackers to the kite and fly it and blow it up. He is now studying to be an air traffic controller. That was Patrick's story via Sam. And then there was this kid named Chip, who spent all his money from allowance and Christmas and birthdays to buy bug-killing equipment, and he would go door to door asking if he could kill bugs for free. That was my story via my sister. There was a guy named Carl Burns, and everyone called him CB. And one day, CB got so drunk at a party that he tried to fuck the host's dog. That's Patrick's story. And there was this guy that they called Action Jack, because supposedly he was caught masturbating at a drunk party, and at every pep rally, the kids would clap and chant, "Action Jack, clap, 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 Action Jack." My story via my brother. There were all other stories and other names. Second base Stace, who had breasts in the 4th grade and let some of the boys feel them. Vincent, who took acid and tried to flush a sofa down the toilet. Sheila, who allegedly masturbated with a hot dog and had to go to the emergency room. The list went on and on. By the end, all I could think was what these people must feel like when they go to their class reunions. I wonder if they're embarrassed, and I wonder if that's a small price to pay for being a legend. After we sobered up a bit with coffee and mini-thins, Patrick drove me home. The mixtape I made for him hit a bunch of winter songs, and Patrick turned to me. "Thanks, Charlie." "Sure." "No, I mean, in the cafeteria." "Sure." After that, it was quiet. He drove me home and pulled up in the driveway. We hugged goodnight, and when I was about to let go, he held me a little tighter. And he moved his face to mine, and he kissed me. A real kiss. Then he pulled away really slow. "I'm sorry." No, that's okay. No, really, I'm sorry." "No, really, it was okay." So he said, "Thanks," and hugged me again, and moved in to kiss me again. And I just let him. I don't know why. We stayed in his car for a long time. We didn't do anything other than kiss, and we didn't even do that for very long. After a while, his eyes lost the glazy, numb look from the wine or the coffee or the fact that he had stayed up the night before. And then he started crying. Then he started talking about Brad. And I just let him. Because that's what friends are for. Love always, Charlie.